There we go. And I'm going to show my screen. Great. And slideshow. Wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. So again, I'm Lynn Rubenstein, and I'm going to describe to you the State Electronics Challenge, which is a great program which actually offers you a lot of different resources and information about your electronic office equipment. So it's a program that is voluntary and free, and it's open to municipal, regional, state, tribal, tribal, any type of schools, any type of college, university, nonprofit organization can participate in the program. It works on promoting the life cycle stewardship of computers and imaging equipment. And in imaging equipment are things like scanners or multifunction devices, printers, things that make images, not cameras, but otherwise. And we do this by working with you on buying green, operating efficiently, meaning reducing energy and paper usage, as well as extending product life, and of course, managing it responsibly at the end of its life. And we award you for what you do. Whether you have done it before you joined the program or after you join the program, we definitely want to award you for your success and the impact that you have. And I'll go through each of these in a little bit more detail. So background, we're in our 9th full year, which personally I find amazing. It was initiated with funding from EPA regions, and currently, as I commented before, it's privately funded by Samsung, Panasonic, and the R2 Rios program, and that's what enables us to offer this program nationally. It is a national program, and it is managed and staffed by the Northeast Recycling Council. And I stress national because of our name sometimes throws people off, but this is a national program. So why are we focusing on electronics? You're on this call and this webinar, so you probably already have some interest in electronics, but really electronics have a really disproportionate impact on the environment from the moment of the original mining and harvesting of the raw materials that go into these products, the processing of them, then the assembly, and of course their use phase. A computer, let's say, is 40 to 50% richer in rare and precious metals than newly mined ore. So that's the amount of processing and refining that's gone on. It's very concentrated, it's very intense, and all the harm to the environment and to people who live around where these stuff is mined has already been done, and that's why we want you to extend the life. Of course, there are toxic constituents in electronics, and so avoiding new use of these is also good. There is a really remarkable amount of so-called embodied energy. 80% of the life cycle energy of a computer is used in its production, and that includes the mining of materials, the processing of materials, and then turning them into devices. So only 20% of the energy used in their entire life cycle is after you own it. So avoiding the production of new devices is actually the greatest environmental good that you can do. And that's one of the reasons that we stress extending the life of equipment, which we'll talk about in a moment. So greening the life cycle saves energy and resources and reduces toxics, and it also diminishes the impact to the humans that live where these minerals and materials are harvested, which we sometimes forget about, but it's important to keep in mind. The environmental benefits for having a green computer system, and I'm going to explain what I mean by green in a second. So for every 1,000 green computer systems that you have, that you use power management for, and that you keep for 5 years, and then recycle, you save enough energy to power 100 homes for a year, and that correlates to avoided greenhouse gases of 177 fewer cars per year on the road. It's the equivalent of avoiding about 50 tons of garbage, 15 tons of hazardous waste, which is about the weight of 112 refrigerators, is not generated, and you avoid the use of toxic materials entirely by about 193 pounds, including lead and fever thermometers. So really measurable environmental impacts. And why are we talking to you? Well, institute institutional purchasers truly impact the marketplace. The designers and manufacturers of this equipment care what you want, and they design accordingly. But they don't do that when Lynn buys something. It's really when you look at large-scale purchasers, the impact that they can make. Of course, you can save energy and cost as well by working with us. Office computers are on, this is a recent study, about 76% of the time, even when most people use them on average about 16% of the day. So that's a huge amount of wasted energy. You can avoid some of this and save money by activating power management features. Depending on the cost of energy where you live and how much you may already be doing in terms of power management, for a computer system, you can save on average somewhere between $10 and $100 per system per year. So that's like per desktop per year. And if you live in a warm climate, you can also save about between $3 and $30 on cooling loads. So if you've ever held a laptop in your lap, you know that these devices give off a lot of heat. And when you have this heat in an office space, you need to cool more for it. And in the winter, you actually can avoid some heating costs because of all that energy that's being dissipated. So you actually can save money. The same arguments for imaging equipment, it ranges between $35 and $60 per year on the type of device. Again, energy costs where you are and how much you're already doing. You can also demonstrate leadership in sustainability and stewardship. You may have constituents that you're speaking to about sustainability and stewardship. Here we have America Recycles Day. You may be speaking to them about these issues, or you may have elected officials or supervisors or others that are looking to you to be leading, to be setting an example. And this is an opportunity. This program provides you with a very straightforward and simple opportunity to do just that. So who can participate? State and tribal agencies, cities and towns, counties, K-12 schools, college and universities, public utilities, public libraries, municipal solid waste authorities and districts, as well as nonprofit organizations. And this is a breakdown of approximately currently how participants in the program break down in terms of what type of organization they are. Now, we call entities that participate partners in the program. So I'm going to be referring from now on to the State Electronics Challenge partners. Athena, do we have any questions at this exact time? I can pause for a second.
Not yet, Lynn.
Okay, that's fine. Just sometimes they happen right away, so that's good. Thanks. So currently, there are 163 partners in 38 states, and that represents more than 215,000 end users. And we talk about end users because going back to when I was talking about computers, most employees have one computer. Sometimes they have more than one computer. And so when we look at the number of employees, that's what we mean by end users, we have reason to believe that we're impacting the decisions and actions of at least this many people within these organizations. So that's why that number is important to us. Now, 38 states. This has been a source of frustration to me for many years. I want to get to 50 states. And so some of you on the phone are from states that do not have anybody who's a partner in the challenge. And so we particularly call out to you to consider joining the program. So how does the challenge work? We offer you best practices in terms of purchasing, use, and end of life. We offer you resources, including free technical assistance and webinars. We have some great web-based resources that are available. And we give you tools for tracking your progress and measure your results, including providing you with individualized sustainability reports. And we award you both for new activities that might take place after you join the program, as well as things you were already doing. So if you're thinking, I already do all this stuff, that's great, you just want an award. You do not want to get off this webinar. So what sort of resources do we have to get the job done? For each life cycle phase on the website, we have actually a tremendous number of webinars, documents, case studies, model language that can help you and show you how to change or address some of your concerns. Whether or not you're a partner, these resources are available to you, and so I encourage you to take a look at the website. Recently, we published a great new resource called Saving Energy with Office Equipment, and this talks about power management, and it really talks about it both in perspective of, I do not know what Lynn is talking about, and takes you through the most simple of explanations and visuals about how do you set it up on your computer, as well as speaking to IT professionals who do know what power management is, and helps them with understanding about power management software opportunities and technical assistance that is available to them. We do offer free one-on-one technical assistance. I don't force it on you, but we love to offer it and provide it when you want it. And we offer partner-only webinars on topics that focus on one of the 3 life cycle phases, and those, after they're held, are posted on the website, and those too are available to you. So I said track progress and measure results. So every year, we calculate the environmental impacts of your activities, and we provide you with a customized sustainability report. And this is based on your annual reporting form. So this is actually a great moment to be on this call. We ask partners, and because it's a voluntary program, all we can do is ask, to provide us a set of data on an annual basis, that being a calendar year basis. So we are just starting to ask our partners to tell us what they did in terms of procurement, or in terms of power management, in terms of recycling or reuse, or extending the life of equipment, what they did in calendar 2016. So if you become a partner basically anytime before the end of the year, we'll still give you a sustainability report for the full year, even though you would just have joined. So this is a great moment, it's a great opportunity, and so very quickly after you join, you'll be getting a sustainability report. And here's an example of what it looks like. It's actually 2-sided. I'm just going to show you the front page of it. And so it looks at the various sorts of savings, like avoided greenhouse gas emissions. It looks at how much of these. It looks at equivalence, and it also looks at the various numbers depending on whether you were working on the purchasing life cycle phase, or the use life cycle phase, or end of life. And whether you participate on 1, 2, or 3 of these life cycle phases is entirely up to you. You can change your mind, you can work on what you want. There's no requirement that you participate in each of the life cycle phases. So after you have submitted your annual report, you are also eligible for awards. And bronze, silver, or gold, depending on your accomplishments in 1, 2, or 3 of the life cycle phases. Now I'm going to speak in a few moments about what I'm going to call the requirements of the life cycle phase. Recognition, you actually do get an award. We do press releases, we do a lot of visibility on the SEC website and also on the NERC website, and the partners love this. It builds great recognition for their support, both from their constituents and their peers and their supervisors. So this is really a great thing, and the partners that apply for awards are always tickled pink, as you can see by this group here. And we announce the awards every year, and we talk about which life cycle phases they worked on. And again, I stress that you don't have to work on all 3 of the life cycle phases. You can pick on 1, 2, or 3. But to win an award, you have to have completed all of the requirements of 1, 2, or 3 of the life cycle phases. And I said this was voluntary. So when I say requirement, it only applies to earning an award. These are what we ask you to do. These are our recommendations to you in terms of achieving the greatest environmental good in each of these life cycle phases. And we're well aware that depending on what job you have, this different life cycle phases are going to be of interest to you. And so if you work in end-of-life management, you may not be so interested in this purchasing one. Or if you're in IT, you might be not so interested in the end-of-life one. So it depends on your organization and you, but I'm going to run through briefly what we have as the quote requirements for the 3 life cycle phases. Each one of them has an intentionality requirement. So in purchasing, it's to modify your procurement practices to either require or give preference to green equipment, which is defined by the Electronic Products Environmental Assessment Tool, also called EPEAT. In the next slide, I'll explain a little bit more about what that is. And that you ensure that 95% of your desktops, laptops, monitors, printers, copiers, and multifunction devices that you purchase are EPEAT registered. So by purchased, we mean lease, and we're not requiring you to go shopping. This is if you are acquiring something, we want you to be getting EPEAT registered. That 95% number should not alarm you in the slightest. I can pretty much guarantee you that you're at 100%. This is absolutely ubiquitous. This is what every large computer manufacturer is building to EPEAT, and that's why we have the intentionality thing. We want you to be intentionally purchasing this as opposed to accidentally purchasing it. So a quick overview is an environmental performance standard. So it is a standard, and it defines how you are green, whether you're a computer, an imaging equipment, a television, or a monitor. And so it looks at various environmental attributes. It also has a 3-tier system in terms of whether you are meeting the minimum requirements, which is bronze, and then there's optional criteria that you can reach. So for example, if you have more recycled content than the minimum requirement, you might be silver. If you have no mercury lighting, you might be gold. So everybody, the bronze requires that you are compliant with Energy Star. So that's a minimum entry requirement. But there's additional requirements as well. It looks at recycled content, packaging, the use of toxics, corporate performance, end-of-life management. It looks at a wide variety of things. Now, currently, as of 2 days ago, there were 1,600 computer products registered in the United States from 29 manufacturers. Now I say the United States because this is an international standard, and if you look in different countries, you'll see different products listed. So that's why we look at the U.S. And imaging equipment has a little bit more than 1,600 products listed and 16 manufacturers. There are fewer manufacturers of imaging equipment, which is why that number is lower. But as you can see, it's a very large number as well. There is a verification process to ensure that the devices actually are meeting the environmental attributes that they claim to be achieving. So it's a great program, and they have a terrific website, epeat.net, where you can look up whether what you have is already EPEAT qualified, or if you're considering purchasing something, you can look it up at any sort of level of specification. So it's a great resource. So use, again, intentional. We want you to intentionally promote power management and paper use reduction. We want you to ensure that Energy Star sleep function is enabled on all computers and monitors. So as I said, EPEAT requires that the products are Energy Star compliant. So they come with these power management features turned on, and then you turn them off. So it is important that they stay on. The parallel in imaging equipment is called powered down features. So we want to be sure that the sleep function settings are enabled on the devices and used. And we want you to extend the life of equipment as well. As I hit pretty hard early on, not buying something is your best move environmentally. Now, we're not talking about not repairing something or not doing software upgrades. Of course, you need to be maintaining the device. But for every month that you can extend its life, you have really, really significant environmental impact, positive environmental impact. And then if you have double-sided equipment that can do double-sided printing, we want you to ensure that 75% of those devices are defaulted to that. Again, we're not telling you to go shopping, but if you have it, you should have 75% of the devices defaulted to double-sided printing. End-of-life management, again, intentional. We want you to have a policy to promote reuse and donation. That goes to extending the life again. And we want you to knowingly require environmentally sound management of the materials, devices. And that includes tracking what you are using and donating and recycling. We're pretty much surprised by the number of people who actually have absolutely no idea what happens with their equipment. That has a whole series of reasons why that's a bad idea. So we really encourage you to track and that you use a recycler that has earned third-party certification, either to e-Stewards, to R2, or to R2 Rios. Now, many people are not familiar with the term third-party certified electronics recycler. And there are standards that have had a lot of work and thought put into them that characterize how a best practice is implemented in electronics recycler. It looks at worker health and safety at the facility. It looks at environmentally responsible processing of the equipment on site as it's moved both on site and moves downstream to other vendors. It requires secured data destruction, also extremely important. And importantly, it's audited by an independent third party that is qualified to determine if a company is meeting these criteria. Very often we hear a partner say, oh, well, my recycler meets the requirements. No, they don't. If they're telling you they meet the requirements, there's no reason to believe them. They need to have gone through a third-party audited process. And if they truly do meet the requirements, then they're actually harming their business by not getting the certifications. The companies that have achieved these certifications do much better financially than the companies that haven't. And there are third-party certified recyclers all over the United States. In fact, they're available all over the world. In the United States, there are more than 600 certified facilities and many more always in the process of certification. e-Stewards has more than 90. R2 Rios has more than 500. And frequently, people will go to these URLs because these are the lists for those particular certifications. And you can look it up by state or whatever, or country, and find the list of recyclers and where they're located and whatnot. And of course, you will want to, if possible, work with somebody in your state. But if you don't have somebody who's in your state or who's nearby, that doesn't matter because all of these companies have trucks and they cross state lines. So while anybody, of course, would have a preference for working with somebody in their state, it's really not a requirement. You can find a credible, qualified company who is certified, who is going to be able to work with you. So how can you participate? You join. You go online to this. It's really less than 1 minute of your life. We need your contact information. That's truly what you have to tell us. And then we ask, it's an ask that you complete the benchmark survey of current practices, which miraculously at this moment of the year turns into the annual report. It's the exact same document. And then we ask that you implement best practices, whether it's in purchasing, use, end of life. And again, you can pick what you work on. We have many partners who start working on just one of these. And then over time, they might move to 2 or to 3, or they might stay with the 1 forever and ever. And that's entirely up to you. And whether you achieve all of the requirements in a particular life cycle phase, there's no shame in this program. We only want to help. And so sometimes you can't do it, and that's the reality. And then, as I said earlier, we ask you to report on annual progress. It's the exact same form as the benchmark survey of current practices. And at this moment of the year, if you turn in your annual report, you get an individualized sustainability report. And you are also eligible to apply for an award. That is even if you just join this week. So how much does this cost? Nothing. The program is free, so there's no cost to join, there's no cost for technical assistance and support, and there's absolutely no obligation on your part. You do what you can. That's really what this amounts to. We want to assist you, we want to help you if you want to make change, but if that's not what's credible in your organization or not credible right now, that's entirely fine. Don't worry about that. We are not able to pay for things like the actual cost of recycling, but anything that I can do to help or we can secure other professionals to provide you with guidance and assistance with, we're going to do that. And how much work is it? Really important. I mean, you're all busy professionals and really probably thinking, why would I want to take on one more thing? So it really depends. I'm not going to give you a good answer here. It depends. It depends on what you want to work on. It depends on how much you've already done this. So let's say you're interested in purchasing, and you're in a state or in a city or a college that already has a requirement that it purchases e-peat. And you've probably just completed all of the requirements of that life cycle. So that's not going to take you too much work. If you are interested in recycling and you would like to use a third-party recycler, but you have no idea how to find one, that actually isn't all that hard. We're happy to help you with that, but you may hit some people in your organization who aren't so pleased about making a change. So who's on your team? Is there a team? Makes a difference, of course. People's personality is really, really the barometer in all of this, and who you need to enlist and if they're there to help you. But really, it's up to you. We're not going to force you to do something. We want to be supportive of your efforts. So here is my contact information. This is the URL for joining. That's not a subtle hint. The bottom one is the URL to the website where you can find the resources, the PowerPoint presentations, webinar recordings, all kinds of things are on that. Again, we have available for you to download, if you want today, the fact sheet and this PowerPoint presentation. You heard this was being recorded, and so we will be posting this on the website, so that will be available as well. And Athena, any questions?
Yes, we do have a few questions. Okay, so I'm already doing all of the SEC requirements. Am I eligible for an award this year? And how do I get it?
Yeah, how you get it? Like, yeah. Send me the envelope. So yes and no. I just want to clarify. So you'd be eligible for calendar 2016. We wouldn't actually be giving you the award until early 2017. But yes, you could submit your annual report. You can apply for an award, and then that's it. Then we do the paperwork. We give you your sustainability report, and we give you an award and press releases. So absolutely, you can get recognized for all the hard work you've already done, even if you are just joining now, and even if you don't have to make any changes at all, even if you've done all of this. Occasionally there are organizations that have tremendous and long-standing sustainability programs that do look at electronics, which sometimes is overlooked in sustainability programs. And so you may be from that organization, and this is a great opportunity for you.
Okay. How do I find out if other SEC partners are in my state or community?
Okay. So if you go to the State Electronics Challenge website, this URL here, and top left of the page, there is one of those like green bars on the left, and there's a link that says current partners. And you can click on that, and that opens up a map, and you can search by state. There's a drop-down menu. You can scroll down to Alabama, and it will open up who the partners are in Alabama. Or you can scroll further down, and it just lists all of them by state. And it can be a good resource to find out who else is doing it, and if you want to be asking them questions about how is it going for them, that's a great way to go about it. I always welcome people to be in touch with me at any point. I mean, this is, I love talking about this program. I think it's a great opportunity, and if you have any questions or concerns or want me to look up who else is in what other colleges are participating and give you the list, I can do that. I mean, that's we're happy to do that. I'll also just say that if you were listening to this and you thought, gee, I listened to this, but I wish so-and-so had heard this, there are the recordings of the webinar on the website, but also we are very happy to do tailor or repeat webinars or just have one-on-one conversations with people. On occasion, we can even travel to do presentations. So if that's something that makes more sense to you, you should please be in touch as well. We're happy to do that.
Okay, this participant is from a very small community, and they are wondering if they qualify, and if there are other, if you have other examples of small communities that may be participating.
So there is no minimum size to participate. If there is a computer or a imaging device in your organization, that's it. That's all you need. There's no other threshold. And the only reason I say that is because otherwise there really wouldn't be anything for you to talk about. But that's why. So we have this, off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of a small town that I think there are, but the example that really comes to mind is that we have several solid waste districts and some state recycling organizations that are partners. And they're talking about their little office, 2 employees, maybe they have 2 computers, they're not doing a lot of purchasing, they're not recycling their equipment, they're hanging on to their equipment, and they're participating and they're giving us annual reports. So that's also fine. So that's an example of a very small organization. I know it's not dead on, but that's an example.
Okay. I know you said businesses cannot join, but how come? This participant works with a lot of businesses, and so I guess they want to know why.
Yeah, sure. Well, the reason is that when we first started this program, it was our belief, and I have to say that candidly over time it hasn't really modified, that companies pretty much have the resources to do this, whereas public sector entities and nonprofits might need a little bit more capacity building, a little bit more assistance in terms of helping them find the way, find their way through the path of, well, how do I buy green stuff? Or, how do I do power management? So it was really a bias that the private sector has the resources to be able to address these issues and implement them on their own. Having said that, they are welcome to use the resources on the website, and if they have a question, they can always reach out to me. I do not hang up on people, and so it's just being an actual partner and being eligible for the sustainability report and the awards. That's the real limitation.
Okay, so we have one more question, so I would like to encourage participants out there, if you have a question, be sure to just type it in so we get that answer before the end of the webinar. And I know you went over the time requirements. Can you go into more detail, maybe, on how much time for the reporting will it take? Is this just me in my office?
Well, you're right to ask about the reporting, only because that's what worries people the most, is the reporting. And the information that we're asking you to collect and report, both is very simple, and there are people who already know the answers to these questions. And so one of the reasons that we have the benchmark report that I referred to, and then the annual report, and why are they the same document? Because the benchmark report, let's say you were joining in January, and you look at the benchmark report, it both tells you what sort of data points we're looking for, but it also gives you a great idea about who else in your organization do you need to meet and perhaps talk to. So if you will ask you how many EPEAT qualified computers did you buy this year? And again, by buy we include lease. Did you buy this year? So was it 4? Was it 0? Was it 1? And which level of EPEAT was it? Were they gold or silver or bronze or I don't know? I don't know is always an acceptable answer. And who knows the answers to these questions? Well, if you're working with a vendor of some sort, they know the answers to these questions. They're keeping very close track of this information. If you have a procurement department, they're going to know where this is. Now, certainly there are organizations where purchasing is diffused, like each person can do it on their own, and it can be a little trickier then, but there are still centralized places where the purchasing is getting reflected. So there are ways to do it, and that's the kind of thing where we are happy to try to help you reach out to the right people and get that information. End-of-life management, your recyclers know what they're handling. You can get this data from them. And if they can't give it to you, that's a very serious failure on their part, quite candidly. Are they third-party certified? They should be able to answer that question. Interestingly, they often answer it incorrectly. But I can tell you, go to those websites and find out the answer. Power management, are your computers power managed? Yes or no? If they are power managed, what percentage of them are power managed? I don't know. Or it may be that you have an IT department and they'll say, oh, everybody is. So there are people who know these things. You may not know those people yet, but there are people who know this information. And so the questions are not onerous. That's really what we're asking. What did you acquire? What was power managed? What did you get rid of? That's what we're asking. And we use that information for the sustainability report. We need those data points in order to do the calculations. It's not just to torture you.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's all the questions we have right now.
Okay. So I would thank you, Athena, and I would just like to thank people who are on the call today and participated in the webinar. Again, if you are interested later on in additional information or especially in joining, you should do it. We will have the PowerPoint and the recording posted sometime this week, if things go really well by tomorrow, but sometime in the very near future, or you can just ask me and I'm happy to help it. So having said that, I'm going to again thank our sponsors, Samsung, Panasonic, and R2 Rios, and say Happy America Recycles Day to one and all, and have a good afternoon. And thank you, Athena. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.